This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Looking to start a side hustle or become your own boss? Do it with Shopify. Whether you're selling succulents or stilettos, Shopify has the industry-leading tools to help you create, control, and grow your own business. So get serious about selling and get Shopify today. Sign up for a £1 per month trial period at shopify.co.uk/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.co.uk/special offer.
Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process in discussions between the authors, narrators, producers, and post-production teams that bring them all together, as well as guests who have listened to the audiobooks and have questions for the creative teams. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. And I'm so excited to have with me today Cheryl Melody Baskin. Cheryl is the author and narrator of Heart Dreamer, Stepping into Life, Love, Creativity, and Dreams, No Matter What. Melody, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would actually love to have you just take a moment to share a little piece, because I know it's in the book, in the audiobook, but a little piece about your name, Melody.
Oh, my name, Melody.
Yes.
Well, my mother was an opera singer, and my middle name is Melody. But, so my full name is Cheryl Melody Baskin. And I've always felt very distant from the name Cheryl. It's a very nice name. It means beloved. But when someone calls me Cheryl, it's like I look behind me, like, who's that? I don't feel at one with that name. But when someone calls me Melody, and people started to doing it before I even asked them to, it always felt like it was the me of me. It is the me of me. I'm a musician, a singer, open heart. I don't know. And so a few years ago, I started asking everyone to call me Melody. And I do think it's very important to think about our names. And I have a chapter in Heart Dreamer where I ask people to think about their name. Does their name really fit them for who they are right now? And, can they imagine what name it might be? If they could choose their name, be the one that chooses their name. And lots of people do choose a new name.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I've met several. My parents named each of us kids after, my brother got names from, he's the oldest, from a best friend of my dad. And then also John Greenleaf Whittier, the poet who is in our family tree, a twig on the family tree, as they always said. But the rest of us were named after fictional characters, and I was Becky, after Becky Thatcher and Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
Oh, my goodness. That's so interesting to know.
Yeah, and I've always loved that, that I was named after a famous character in a story. So, yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel like a Becky?
I do. Yeah. I've always liked my name. So
that's great. That's great.
Also, your title, I love the way it ends. No matter what.
Yeah, that's the most important part of the title. No matter what obstacles, inner obstacles or obstacles in life come in front of you, don't let anything stop your determination, your resilience, your visions for a better life on the other side of what you're experiencing now and for your dreams. And that no matter what is really powerful. Yeah. Even though it has the word no in it, it's one of the few phrases that actually is positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of people say, well, don't say the word no, because that's a negative connotation. And, most of the time that's true, right? But no matter what makes me feel stronger and more courageous and more willing to take a risk. Even if I'm shy, even if I'm insecure, even if I'm I don't feel adequately knowledgeable about something, no matter what. If I have a seed that I could do it anyway, I'm going to go for it. And I hope everybody does that.
Yeah. We were definitely raised to follow our dreams was one of the follow our heart. And I remember when we first met, I just felt such a connection with you and your work. And so I'm excited to have this time to get to know you a little bit more. Yeah.
Thank you, Becky. I feel the same way. And sometime when I come out to Portland, maybe we can actually meet.
That would be so great. I would really love that.
Yeah. That'd be wonderful.
So have you always been a writer?
I haven't always been a writer, but I've had seeds of that. Like when I was 3, my mother pushed me in front of an audience to sing. So I've always sung. I've been a music teacher for little children, performing artist, and I have 9 albums actually for adults and children under the name Cheryl Melody. But I was the kind of young child that would create stories and plays in my head at night, and I couldn't figure out the ending. So I just keep staying up all night to try to figure out an ending. It's kind of little OCD stuff, I think, when I think back at it. And then along the way in elementary school, I would write down some of these stories and act them out in front of a friend, and she'd act out her stories. So I think the seed was always there, but most of my life was one of being a musician, teacher, all of those kinds of things, and absolutely loving it. But in 2016, I think, or maybe a year before that, both my kids were grown and have their own lives out of the house, and I heard an inner voice, and I almost always listen to my inner voice. It's time to write a book. It's time to write a book. And I'm like, what? Yeah, you've got something inside you got to say. So that was a crazy experience. I wrote my first book called Shift of Heart, Paths to Healing and Love, which is the name of my Facebook community that I started. And the way I wrote it was I just put my recording equipment on and I just stream of consciousness said everything I knew at that time about inner healing and chakras and, that kind of thing. And, I had a book, my first book.
That's great.
So that's how that happened. And I thought that would be it. And then it wasn't.
So what happened along the way? How did Heart Dreamer come into existence? Where did that begin?
Yeah, that was crazy. This is what it looks like now. This was the original cover.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one too, but I don't know. I just wanted something a little more spiritual and looking up at the sky kind of thing. I was folding laundry, innocently folding my laundry, and all of a sudden I saw the words Heart Dreamer in big, bold font, huge in my mind with a big hyphen, a thick hyphen in between. And I just, what was that? Why did that just happen? But I've had things like this happen to me before where a song at a traffic light would just whoosh through me or, things like that. Just what I call wisdom whispers. And so at first I resisted seeing that. I can be a resistor. I can, why did that just happen? Projects take too much time out of my life, But pretty quickly I realized that I was being given a gift, that it was meant to be a book. And because I've been a dreamer all my life, and I want to encourage people to also dream and tap into their inner heart dreamer. And I've done a lot of healing work, inner work, and I've lived a long time on this earth, thank goodness. And I realized that I had a lot to say. So, for the next couple years, I wrote that book and rewrote it. And
yeah, when you saw that title, when that appeared before you, did you know immediately what that meant, what kind of book this was going to be?
Yeah, that I was supposed to write about my life as a dreamer. Yeah, and to inspire people to show, I'm a teacher as well, so I like to not only talk about things, but to teach what are the tools? How do you actualize the dream you have? How do you grab back the dreams that you've lost? And how do you dream if you've never dreamed before? If you've been more left brain cognitive, or life has just taken over the practical aspects of, And so, that's what I try to do, is really inspire all 3 situations in all ages, because I think this kind of thing is good for teenagers in their later life, in the later teens maybe, and why not into the hundreds? I don't know.
Right, yeah.
I just don't think, I think I have a line in Heart Dreamer, that dreams are a lifeline to hope. And that's what I truly believe. And it's the times when I don't dream and I can't figure out what I'm going to do next that I get kind of blue. But, I imagine you have to have these kind of lulls.
Seasonal, sort of yeah.
Yeah, because when you do step into one, it does absorb every inch of you and your life and the lives of other people, so.
You're talking about our dreams and living into our dreams, and it reminds me of a time in my life when I had veered off from the path that I think is my great gift, which I'm now on. But I had veered off with the idea that I think that many of us are faced with at some point, because I think our society has a tendency to put this in front of us as if it is a truth. And that is, if what you want to do is something that maybe is in the creative field, which, there's the whole phrase, even starving artist, kind of perpetuates this idea that we can't do what we love and thrive in our lives. Just doing that, right? And so there was a time in my life when I thought, I have to go do this other thing in order to make a living so that then I can do the thing that I really love and am passionate about. And it was a teacher, it was an instructor who recognized in a moment of a training program that I was not on the path where my greatest gift was, and who said, you need to jump into that full time, both feet.
I get goosebumps hearing that story.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of Pro Audio Voices and getting back into what I am so passionate about. So
yes.
So I see this work
That's
that you're
wonderful.
doing and helping others recognize how to take the steps to get back to where you and your heart want to be. It's beautiful.
Beautifully said. Yeah. Yeah, it takes a lot of inner reflection. And I do ask questions in Heart Dreamer, look within questions, self-discovery. And you and I were very lucky. We met somebody along the way that said something very special that helped you go back to what you were meant to do.
Yes. Yeah.
I met somebody when I was 15 that I write about in the book. It was a friend of my family's, and he was a mystic, a poet, a doctor, a few other things. He was really kind of an amazing person. And usually when my parents introduced me to someone, I was very shy and I'd just head to my room right away. But this person really drew me, his wisdom. And so I remember the time we went for a walk together, and he told me to continue to be introspective about, looking within, look for the cues and clues in the universe for the answers to my questions in life. And most of all, he told me, don't hide who you really are. Step into your gifts. He pointed out that I had many of them. And it's my way of saying thank you to the universe for the gifts I've been given by sharing them. So that is really the crux of why I do everything I do, whether I make money or not. It doesn't have much to do with money, really. It just has to do with service, giving back. I mean, I'd like to make money, don't get me wrong, but it does have to do with more helping people and service, and giving back and saying that spiritual thank you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So aside from the work that you're doing as a writer, and you mentioned as some teaching, can you tell us a little bit more about what kinds of other ways that you're helping people? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one of the first thing that comes to my mind is I have a Facebook group that I mentioned, Shift of Heart, and everyone is welcome to join. Just type it in the search. There's over 1,000 people, I've lost track, that are part of it. And it really, I always was searching for a microcosm of the world that represented goodness and people treating each other with kindness and support and wisdom and acceptance, inclusion, compassion, all that good stuff. And a few years ago, I noticed that you could create your own community. So I thought, build the field and maybe one person will join. But lots of people have joined, and I feel as if I am their intuitive life coach or motivational life coach, how inner wisdom mentor. There are a lot of different labels. I'm not one that really loves labels, but I'm all of that. And I'll either put a positive affirmation on there and we will talk about it. People support each other in their vulnerabilities and in their strengths. We have community share about a certain theme. And I feel that of all the things I've ever done, it's the most satisfying. There's no money involved, but it's just pure giving and receiving. And I just absolutely love doing that.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, I love doing it. I call it my island of peace, love, and hope, and it is. It really is. So we all remind ourselves to return to love, no matter what's going on in the world, the chaos, the politics, the injustices. Return to love. All you can do is be peace begins with yourself, right? Peace begins with me. So that's all you can do. So just come back to it and make a difference in your own little world, So it's just a wonderful thing to be part of that and have that work out.
That's beautiful. And have you, in your journey from that time when you were 15 and you had that conversation, is this the kind of work that you have been doing from then?
Well, I did the usual things. I went to school, college. I went to music school and I got my master's at Lesley with creativity as kind of the theme. And I'm taught for a great many years in the public school. And then I created my own music school for babies through age 6, which was a blast. And then songs kept wishing through me 19 years later. And I didn't know why that was happening. So before I knew it, I put those in albums and closed my school and started doing performing. And then I started performing peace concerts around the United States, different places, and still composing and all of that. And then the books came along. So what's really strange is a lot of times it's difficult to still do the music part of me and write at the same time. It's like when I write. But what was just such a wonderful blend in the audiobook was the opportunity to be able to share one of the songs that really is like the theme song of Heart Dreamer, If You Have a Dream. And I even created a song the night before I was going to record the last chapter. I created a tune for a couple of the lyrics and did it the next day. And so it was so great to be able to, use some of the music and also have your music, that you could provide underneath the meditations and the visualizations, so that this book became so alive now through audiobook. And I think that if I had a choice, I think I would have always wanted to do an audiobook first for all the books, but reading is good too. And it's good to have everything in print. And this is 256 pages. I had to crystallize this so that the listener wouldn't get tuned out. I wanted to keep their focus and keep them inspired. So now it's very crystallized, multidimensional, and interactive. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Well, let's just take a short pause and then we're going to come back and talk more about the audiobook. Here at Pro Audio Voices, we love working with authors who have a big goal in mind. They really want to reach out to their audience around the world. We're here to help make that happen. It starts with our pre-production process, where we're evaluating and determining what elements of the audiobook we can leverage to both create an excellent listener experience for your listeners, as well as drawing them to your website to engage with you further. It continues on through the production process, making decisions that will enhance and support your big goals, as well as creating a great listener experience. But we don't stop there. Once the audiobook is live, we move on to helping you market your audiobook with the Audiobook Marketing Program. Come check us out at proaudiovoices.com. To schedule a call to talk about your audiobook project, click on Get Started. All right, so we're back. And so, Melody, you started talking about the audiobook process. This is one where you are the narrator as well as the author. And it's been a wonderfully unique, in many ways, process, because every audiobook is a unique project. And so I would love for you to share a little bit more about what the process has been like for you, partly because, and let's start with the pre-production phase. So where we were figuring it out, like, when are we going to have music? Where is it going to be? And you had also mentioned earlier that you have, questions that you ask and, giving our listeners think time. So let's talk just a little bit about what that process was like for you.
It took me a year and a half to look at the paperback manuscript and figure out how to revise it and get it empathically get in the place of a listener and, pull out the gems. But as I was doing that, new ideas were coming through me. And I just really couldn't believe it. I still can't. This has really been kind of an out-of-body experience.
Cool.
So new ideas were coming to me. So as I'm reading a visualization in the book, I'm thinking it's something new for that that area or a new area was coming through. And I didn't resist it. I just allowed all those new ideas to burst forth. So that really the book is it's the same, but it's not. It's so enhanced, and there's new visualizations and meditations, and then of course the music underneath. And I went through the book trying to figure out, well, where would it be nice to really have music underneath my speaking voice? And then Elias, the wonderful person I've been working with, sent me some samples, and then I imagined what each would be like, and chose different samples. So we have music right in the right spots, I think, that kind of enhance what I'm saying even more. So it's not, sometimes you need the silence of nothing, only the human voice. But sometimes it's like somebody holding you, it's like, especially meditations or visualizations, it just carries the listener to another space, and it's very lovely. I also had to do a lot of practicing on my own to deliver all these chapters and deliver them well with the inflection I wanted and the timbre of voice. And I love doing voiceovers. If I could, I would do many more of them. I don't know the technical aspect of like what you do, and Tristan, who's been wonderful to work with as an engineer. But if I didn't have to worry about that, I absolutely love doing voiceovers. So I spent a lot of hours working on that as well. And then it was time to do it. And whether I did it exactly like I had practiced, I don't know. Then you just have to let go, and that's it. But as I was working with Heart Dreamer in audiobook form, I was really doing a lot of listening to my inner voice, those wisdom whispers. I would actually hear, no, do this, do this, put this in. How about this, so, and I listened every step of the way. So I think it's pretty magical. I haven't heard it yet, but, I'll be reviewing it probably soon when Tristan is done. But I did the best I could, and I feel like I gave it my all. And I hope it inspires people. It's kind of life coaching, but more than that, it's really inner healing and self-discovery and all kinds of things, and encouragement.
Just so our listeners know, the process that we used in working, in the recording of your audiobook was with a remote audio engineer. So Tristan was not, so Tristan and Melody were in two different locations, but connected over Wi-Fi. And so Melody, we got you set up with our home studio consultant to get your space all ready for you so that when you were recording, you had good quality audio. But you didn't have to deal with any of the technical side of editing or any of that. The audio files went straight to Tristan for his next step.
Right. I was very worried, what is this remote recording thing? Like, how is that going to work out? It seemed impossible. And I was very worried about what you do. What button am I supposed to push where magically we're going to be connecting? But it really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be at all. And so I just want everybody to know that.
You had a paperback book already. And now as you were preparing to put it into audio, it sounds like that was a very creative process in and of itself.
Yeah. And like I said, it took me a year and a half. I didn't even realize it took me a year and a half till I saw a date somewhere on one of my documents. And I just couldn't believe it. The examples I have in here are many pages, and then at the end of each chapter, I have lyrics to one of my songs that reinforce a theme of that chapter. And I really felt that the listener would get really tired fast if I kept all those things, if it was unabridged, if I kept everything. So I really had to pull out the gems and yet create new gems as well. And that's what happened. I'm still stunned. I'm still in process of saying, what just happened for a year and a half? And then the recording, and suddenly last Monday I was done recording. I'm like, oh my goodness. And, now I'm waiting for to hear the files. And I still need to process what just happened, but all I know for sure was that it was a glorious experience, completely positive in every way, so.
That's great.
I'm starting to tear up. But, it's very emotional. And to leave this behind while I'm here on the planet and behind when I'm no longer here is the most meaningful thing I wanted to do right now in my life. And I really feel at peace that this happened. It became very, very important to me. More important than when I wrote the books. The idea of people seem to like my speaking voice and my singing voice. And I know some people go to sleep with some of my songs and things like that, in the middle of the night when they have insomnia. So I really wanted to leave the imprint of my speaking voice as well as some of my music behind. And I'm so grateful I found you and the way your philosophy in running Pro Audio and that this has worked out so well.
Yeah. I got to hear some of your recording, including one of your songs, and it is so beautiful and moving, and I could so feel your energy and the love that is a part of that recording. So I think it's wonderful that you're that we're in the process together of creating this beautiful baby.
That's what it feels like. Every time you create something, they feel like babies, children that you've created. And so it's about to be born, or it has been born, but we just need to launch it.
It's close. Would you like to maybe share some of the gems in the audiobook and what your hope for the listener is who hears it? I know we've touched on some of those things, but I would love to sort of focus for a moment on what some of those gems are in your mind.
Well, my hope for the listener is that no matter how discouraged they might feel at the moment that they're listening to me, or maybe if they're not discouraged, that they will receive the tools they need, the love they need, and the information they need to get to a new stage in their life and breathe in fresh energy and revived hope. And I really tried to put who I am in the audiobook, my struggles and my victories. I also want to say that there are members in my Shift of Heart group that contributed to the audiobook. There's a section called Community Wisdom. Mm-hmm. And so I ask them certain questions from time to time, and then they share. Yeah. Like when you're going through a very dark time, what do you do to keep yourself together? Things like that. Yeah. Or how can you be your own best friend? And then they've responded. So I took some of their responses and I put them in the audiobook. So really I've had, people from around the world help me with the wisdom in the book. I didn't want to be the only voice of wisdom. I wanted other people's wisdom to be part of it too. So, and then, in the very first page or so, I start with an opening letter of a heart dreamer's welcome. Yeah. So I talk about what a heart dreamer is. They're the most determined people I know. They go for their dream no matter what. They look up at the stars with dreams in their eyes, and they keep going. And no matter what challenges they have, they always have this little pocket inside of them that no one can destroy. No one. And your imagination is your imagination. And the sky is the limit. And so, that's the part of you I want to activate, or part of the listener I want to activate. Yeah. And
that's beautiful.
I think that's it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And many times in the book, a few times in the book, I have something where I ask the listener to stand on a metaphorical mountaintop with me and say certain words that I have in the book about being a heart dreamer, like just claiming it.
Yeah.
And
our words matter. And what we say to ourselves, I think, matters maybe most of all.
That's right. And I have a chapter in there about that, change your words, change your life, and how to do that. I've got how to write an effective affirmation. A lot of people write affirmations, but then when I read other people's affirmations, a lot of times they sound negative. There's negative energy in some of the words. So as a teacher, I go about in the Best Friends Forever chapter 5, I think it is, or 6, show people how to write effective affirmations, say them after me,
Mm-hmm.
I matter. I step into my full space in the world. I keep moving forward with determination, things like that. So, your words matter, and what you're thinking matters.
Right.
Your thoughts. One of the things I absolutely loved about doing this audiobook, doing the voiceover, was I made my book into kind of a script so that I took the part of the inner critic. And boy, did I love being the inner critic. Like, you really shouldn't go into that job. Mark my words, you won't like it, things like that. And then I would take the part of the kinder voice within, you can do anything. Just remember that, that kind of, so I love doing those different inflections and taking the part of the good and the evil kind of thing. It was a lot of fun.
That's good.
It was a lot of fun.
Good. What would you say is like, if you think over the audiobook production process so far, as you've gotten through it so far, what would you say is the most surprising thing that you encountered?
Surprising?
Yeah. Anything?
Well, that it was so much fun. Despite how nervous I get beforehand, how worried I get into anxiety and things like that, I was able to release it. It was so much fun. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be to do remote. I had a very patient engineer in the form of Tristan. And so we got along. That's very important. I've worked with many engineers when I recorded my albums, and some were better than others, and some might have clashed, or did clash with one or so, and others were wonderful. And so people either can make you at ease or ill at ease, And so I would say trust the process, trust in your company, Pro Audio Voices. It's really been wonderful. And Elias was so patient because I changed my manuscript many times, even as I was recording. I'm like, you know what? I really prefer to have this sentence instead of that sentence. And then he would patiently send me a new version of that manuscript. And so the patience and the understanding of what the creative process is, and that it's ongoing. Just because I was about to record didn't mean my creative process was over. It's actually happening live as I was doing a certain section,
Yeah.
So
great. That's great. And where can our listeners learn more about you and your writing? You mentioned the Facebook group, so if you'd mention that again, the name, and then also your website, that would be great.
Right. The name of the Facebook group is Shift, SHIFT, of Heart. You can just type those 3 words in, and then it'll appear. I also have an author page I just started on Facebook, and a personal page. My website though is CherylMelody.com, CHERYL Melody.com, and that has all my books and lots of music and all of that. And that's about it, I guess.
Okay, great. Well, we'll put those links in the description and show notes as well. And also want to let our listeners know that your book will be available on Amplify Audiobooks, which is the best place to get your audiobooks. Best place for listeners and best place for authors. So,
yes, and my book will be on it.
Well, Melody, thank you so much for this time. This has been really delightful.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
So again, Cheryl Melody Baskin, author of Heart Dreamer. And the subtitle is Stepping into Life, Love, Creativity, and Dreams, No Matter What. Thanks, Melody.
Thanks, Becky.
Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.